Well, Pakistan is still trailing by a lot of runs in this particular test match, but they've got some positives that they can look at out of this series. And for them, I think Mohammad Rizwan is definitely going to be one of them. The way he's kept behind the stumps as well as scored some runs. And of course, we've seen some glimpses of brilliance from other players as well, but it's just that they haven't really clicked together as a unit. However, today was the day when Azhar Ali can perhaps be slightly relieved, considering he's been under so much scrutiny and under so much pressure. I've got Monty Panesar here with me. Monty, a good day for Azhar Ali, the captain, as well as the batsman, because what better way to answer the critics by scoring 100?
Yeah, I think he was brilliant. I thought he was really good at how he was managed to, I think we showed a different side of Azhar Ali, really. He was showing some mental toughness, but also the innings was, I think, very important to him. But he actually emotionally was, uh, I think, very much balanced, and he didn't kind of show it too much. But I think for him, it meant a lot. He knew that if he didn't score 100 or didn't, play a captain's innings, then they probably would have, looked at someone else to captain Pakistan.
Hmm. Well, he has been at the firing end from everybody in Pakistan, at least. Like I mentioned before as well, a lot of questions were raised on his batting. Forget his captaincy, his batting was also being questioned. We've spoken about how he's got a double hundred in Melbourne and how he's had problems with his technique. But do you think that he made any kind of adjustment at all to be able to come up with a solution for the problem that he was having?
Well, I think you can see certain technical, aspects to his game. He's not planting his foot across the stump, and early in his innings, he still does that, and he kind of like, found a way to stay, at the crease. But then at the back end, especially when he, was well settled, you can see how his front foot was facing down, down the wicket, and he was able to line that ball much better. So normally he gets across his stumps and he just sort of plays with the bat. But this time, it just seems his alignment was much better.
Right, right. Anderson, you talk about his achievements of the number of wickets he has. He had three catches dropped off his bowling as well. It seems like nobody wanted him to have that 598th wicket.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Anderson has been unbelievable in terms of finding, ways to get wickets. But I think what it is with him is that with all of these players, you kind of like, writing them off, like Azhar Ali, Jimmy Anderson again. You're thinking, well, should he get retired? And then he just, produces such magical spells. And I think
Hmm.
that's what we've seen, in this Test match, that some of these great players from each team are standing up. They're still hungry to prove a point. They still want longevity in their careers. And Azhar Ali and both Jimmy Anderson have proven that they still want to play for another few more years. And I'm sure Azhar Ali, I don't know if he'll break Yunus Khan's record, but I think this is a huge positive for Pakistan cricket that Azhar Ali has able to turn his form around, and I'm sure with this 100
The
he'll
question
remain as
is,
captain.
why didn't it come earlier?
Yeah, look, we all know this, and I think the difficulty is Pakistan. I think they look like a better team as the Test series have gone on, and during
Hmm.
some of the tough situations, you kind of feel that, oh, Pakistan going to crumble again. They started off really well in the first innings at Old Trafford, but then they tend to get bowled out between 50. Before the second new ball, they're all bowled out by then. Then, and especially up to the 50th or 60th over, they tend to just,
Hmm.
they don't really want to stay in for long periods of time. But this time around, they managed to do, something that I think is probably a realistic target, looking at Pakistan's batting lineup and how long they bat. That if they can bat, in the first innings that they have done, gone into the second new ball and go up to 100 overs if they can. That would be good. That's a realistic target. That's how people got to assess this Pakistan team. That you can't just be really harsh. You've got to be realistic. If they got bowled out for under 50 overs, then fine. The Pakistan media has every right to question everything. But they've done better than they expected. I think it's been a good day for Pakistan.
I think they'll always look back at that Old Trafford game and think of it as an opportunity that they lost somewhere in this series.
Yeah, they're going to obviously think about that. They're going to think, Joss Butler coming into bat, keeping isn't great, and suddenly produces an innings that, transformed his Test career. People are going to look back, look at this series. Azhar Ali today, another example. You're kind of thinking, oh, that's it. He gets out early. That's the end of his captaincy. But he probably produces one of the most important hundreds of his career. So this is, what I think sometimes we forget, that the Test cricket actually, during the series, turns around people's careers. And I think today's 100 has definitely been a huge turning point for Azhar Ali.
And I think that's one of the key points that we've been discussing throughout the series, how his captaincy is also being affected due to the fact that he's unable to score runs. So let's see, hopefully that gives him some kind of confidence in leading the side. But Pakistan has still got another innings to go. There are lots of players who are still under scrutiny. You have the likes of Asad Shafiq, who got out cheaply once again. He's been under the pump. But then you've got somebody like Mohammad Rizwan, who's done so well in this series. I mean, he's truly been the find of the series for Pakistan, Monty.
Yeah, I agree with you. I truly agree with you. And I think, in the second innings, Pakistan probably will bat. Or I'll be surprised, actually. I think England may bat again, just to rest the bowlers. So, yeah, whenever Pakistan bat again, they should take a lot of, obviously, confidence with Azhar Ali, but they should also watch his innings. They should learn, how did he, line the ball up at the start of when the ball was moving? How did he, stayed in there for a long period of time? And also they need to take note that with Dom Bess, once they start attacking him, he's not the same bowler. He gets under pressure. So they need to initially do that hard work from the new ball. But then afterwards, it does get easier for them. They can, when the ball isn't moving as much, it is a lot easier to bat. It's that initial period when with the new ball, the ball is going to do a lot. How do we make sure we don't lose wickets? And I think that's, that first 20 overs or 30 overs, that's going to be a huge factor in the second innings, that Pakistan have to now, work out a way of not losing as many wickets in that first 30 overs. Because then after that, it does get a lot easier to bat on. It's just that initial period, 30 for 4. I thought he was going to look at 100 all out. But I think Pakistan proved us wrong today.
It's just that they're up against a guy who's taken about 600 wickets now, and abroad as well. But Jimmy Anderson, I have to talk about him. Of course, we've said what a brilliant bowler he is. Lots of debate around the fact that he's got those wickets at home. Most of his wickets are at home. But if you look at his record, he's got about 200 wickets outside England as well. So how do you evaluate him and his performance over the years?
Look, he's been a huge asset to England, especially in English conditions. But he managed to work out ways in subcontinent conditions to get wickets as well, to reverse that ball, to get the ball to seam a little bit. So he has worked on other skills. But I know, there's a lot of wickets he's taken in England. So, it's, if you look at it, his away record isn't as good as it is in England. So I think they should invest more time with Jimmy Anderson to see how long can Jimmy Anderson play in England and maybe, when it comes to the away trips, so especially subcontinent conditions, save his legs, save his bowling. If no one is better than him when it comes, to English conditions. So you might as well, play him as many test matches as you can at home, and then when it comes away, then possibly, the tours where, like the Australia or South Africa is where, fast bowlers will be used a lot more than, the India tour. But it's up to him really. He's taken 600 test wickets, and if he wants to play in the toughest conditions where the ball doesn't swing, then that's entirely up to him.
Right, and England's slip catching. A word about that. We've seen it throughout the series. There've been quite a few drops. We've seen Joe Burns drop one. Then there were a couple from Stokes. We had Zach Crawley drop one as well in today's play. Why do you think that is happening? I mean, even Joss Butler in the first Test match, he was getting criticized for his poor keeping behind the stumps, and there was so much discussion and talk around those slip fielders' positions and so many other things. I mean, what do you think? It's not like they get enough. They don't get enough practice or drills. That every team goes through that. What do you think is missing here? Why is England dropping so many catches in the slips?
Yeah, I think it's to do with the distance between the slips, and something that they've probably tinkered with quite a lot, and they're just not sure. These are new batters who are playing together, and one of their obviously responsibility on the field is going to be to make sure they hold on to catches as well. And initially, you want to be further up. You want the ball to come to your hip height, and if you can catch it, then if it dies down on the pitch, then you can catch it below your knees. But you want to be catching it coming hard at you. Now, if you refuse to do that because the ball's coming too hard, then you need to do more practice. And I think that's what they need to do. They need to practice catching balls above hip height and actually coming a little bit closer, so they really sort of get the understanding of the ball coming really quickly and then catching it. And I think they're young batters, and they probably haven't, caught the ball as quickly when it comes to these international bowlers. And, you're going to find that, a bit of development is needed in the slip ball.
All right, Monty. So what now for Pakistan?
Again, we've got to be realistic here. We've got to look at the stats that they've done in this series. If they get one batsman who can score 100, they're very likely to bat 90 overs. Now, if they don't get that, they're going to crumble 50 overs, under 50 overs, they'll get bowled out. So that is, again, the target. If they can bat another 90 overs in the second innings, get to the second new ball. If they can bat between 80 to 100 overs in the second innings, I think they've done a great, great job. And that's how you got to see it, because that's where this Pakistan team is at.
All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts, Monty. I think that's pretty much a wrap from my side, because we've analyzed everything, discussed everything. There's not anything which is actually left now, considering a lot happened for England in the day, not really for Pakistan. We kind of knew where this is going. But like you said, on an optimistic level, there are so many little milestones that they can look at, score the hundreds, get some confidence going for the next series as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.